There are so many mosques which were originally temples. So many.
ज्ञानवापी बाबरी मस्जिद शाही मस्जिद
हिंदू मंदिर को तोड़कर बनाई गई है.
Your most landmark restoration was the Ram Mandir at Ayodhya. What are some of the evidences that made you believe that yes, this was the temple and that too of Ram?
So when we went inside, we saw the mosque was standing on Hindu temple pillars. Near Qutub area, there is a Muhammed Islam mosque. All the pillars are from the temple pillars. Ganesha is there, Vishnu is there. There are so many Apsaras. Hindu communities suffered a lot. I admit it.
It is on the ruins of these 27 temples that the Quwwatul Islam Mosque has been made in the Qutub Minar premises.
Yes. When this GPR survey was conducted, there are so many structures below the mosque. So that was a shock again.
If one continues excavating,
Yeah.
more temple ruins can be found. How many temple ruins do you think can be found or could have been found in Ayodhya complex?
So there will be number of mosques which you will have to give back to the Hindu community. So that will be creating a lot of problem. That would be a kind of civil war itself.
A claim is that the Taj Mahal was the Tejo Mahalya temple, which is of the Lord Shiva. Is that true?
Padma Shri Muhammad KK, popularly known as the Temple Man of India, is the former regional director from the Archaeological Survey of India. He was also instrumental in the excavation efforts at the Ram Mandir at Ayodhya. Known for excavating high-profile temples, mosques, churches and Buddhist stupas, he has reconstructed over 80 temples across India, often seeking assistance from the local dacoits and Naxalites, sometimes at the cost of risking his own life.
Bhojshala complex in Dharan, Madhya Pradesh, on which the mosque is built.
It was a Saraswati temple, there is no doubt about it. Mathura, it was earlier a temple, and during the period of Aurangzeb, it was dismantled. It was converted into a mosque. Now there is a huge Shahi mosque. And the third thing is Gyanvapi. The very name Gyanvapi, it doesn't go with Islam. Gyanvapi itself, the word itself says that it was Hindu.
What are some of the evidences that you have which makes you certain that this was in fact a temple? I was at Kashi Vishwanath. I didn't know that was the Gyanvapi. The mosque ke bahar Nandi kya kar raha hai? Because Nandi is a insignia or a symbol of a yogic or a Hindu temple.
Yeah. If you look at the Nandi itself, Nandi is looking towards the mosque.
Yes.
If a Hindu see this thing, that the thing has been completely destroyed, his blood would boil. I am an admirer of Hinduism. India is secular. It's only because the Hindu community is a majority community. If it was either Christian majority or Islamic majority, it would never have been a secular country. Muslims should be ready to admit their historical mistake.
The petition for Ayodhya was filed in 1991. Why is it coming to surface now? Is it the political party or is it the leadership? You think it could have happened without Modi?
It was very difficult.
So one more claim is that a lot of Muslim structures across India, especially in Delhi, Fatehpur Sikri, Agra, have been borrowed from Hindu temples. Is that true? Speaking of Akbar, there have been accounts of him raping women. Is it true that he was going to be converting to Christianity at one point?
This father Rudolf Akbar, he wrote a letter also that this man is on the verge of conversion to Christianity.
Akbar wore sindoor on his forehead like Hindus?
Yes.
Whether Mahabharata is a myth?
Fight was during the Iron Age, because till that time man was using mostly the copper and the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu, and that is made of this one iron material, and you have plenty of iron in Mathura, in Fatehpur Sikri region.
Whether Mahabharata is a myth or is a historical fact? What do you think?
Shri Muhammad has earned 3 international awards, 5 national awards and 1 state award for his exceptional contribution in the field of archaeology. It is our honor to have with us in today's historical episode of the Body to Being podcast, Padma Shri KK Muhammed.
Namaskaram, sir.
Namaskaram, pranam.
I want to start by mentioning this to the viewers. A son of a daily wage laborer
Yes.
whose parents dreamt of him becoming a Maulvi, that is a Muslim priest,
Yeah.
ends up becoming the temple man of India. Amazing. I think this is one of the most secular stories that I've ever come across in my life.
Truly, because this is something which normally does not happen, but it has happened. And in India, we have got so many things like that one, because it is such a vast country where anything can happen like this one.
So, I've read your book, and I think, sir, you're not just an archaeologist par excellence, but I think you're a true seeker. Because today, I think what the world needs more is the truth. You have said this yourself that your identity goes beyond your own religion, which is Islam.
Yes.
And you have been at the helm and crucible of restoring several religious sites, be it Hindu temples, be it Christian churches, be it mosques.
Even Buddhist temples also, Buddhist
Buddhist.
stupas.
Absolutely. So I think what the viewers would be interested, sir, is we know that the Hindu-Islam divide is a very long-standing and a fierce one.
Yeah.
How many temples do you think were originally mosques, and how many mosques do you think were originally temples?
See, there are so many mosques which were originally temples. So many.
Yes?
Yes, there
Okay.
are. As an archaeologist, and I know it very well. But I don't think there is any mosque which has been converted into temples. Could be few examples could be there, very few, and that too during the partitions time. But this is a fact that many of the temples have been converted into mosques. You should accept it. And there are certain historical things which should not have taken place that has taken place. That is a historical fact. You cannot deny it. The mere fact that you are accepting it, that itself is a kind of admission. Muslims should not go and defend it also.
Okay.
I was in Goa, and that too in the central part of Goa, where you have got almost all the very big churches like Bom Jesus, Cathedral, St. Francis Assisi, and all those things. And I was living there in the church complex itself. Christians, that is Roman Catholic Christians who had come from Portugal, they have committed more atrocities than the Muslim community.
Oh.
There was a hall of inquisition. Hall of inquisition means, it was, they would be, those people who have been, converted into Christianity and then gone back, or somebody who is accused of this one speaking something against Christianity, they would be very cruelly killed.
Mm.
So it is known as an inquisition, and that had started from Spain,
Okay.
and then it was introduced in India. So that is what I say. They have done more atrocities, but they don't justify it. Even during the British time, also, many things had happened, but no English person would defend it. And similarly, the Roman Catholics also, they don't defend it. That has happened. We are sorry for that one. It should not have taken place. So that should have been a kind of the attitude of the Muslims also, which would have served as a healing act for the Hindu community. Hindu community suffered a lot. I admit it, they suffered a lot. And this should have been a kind of healing action should have been from the Muslim side, which unfortunately did not happen.
So, sir, you're saying that the Catholics, especially the Roman Catholics, have inflicted much more atrocities than the Muslims in history?
In that particular period, I'm talking about Goa, Karnataka, that is area.
Okay. But the only difference was that the Catholic community accepted the misdoings, but the Muslim
Yes,
community didn't.
yeah. That is the main difference between the Muslim community and the Christian community. They accept it. It should not have taken place. But Muslims and the communist historians of Aligarh University and JNU, they would try to justify it, saying, no, it was not because of the temples were destroyed, not because of the Islamic fundamentalism, but it was because it was the storehouse of gold and silver. So they wanted to loot that kind of gold and silver. It was because of that. So this kind of justification also, unwanted justification also, they should not do it. They should say it was a medieval period. Many things which should not have happened that has happened it. But the present day Muslims are not responsible for that one. We should forget the past. That should have been the attitude. But because of the communist historians also, and because of the inherent system of the Islamic community also, what they are doing is they are defending itself. This kind of defense system should not have been there. So that would have created a kind of a better atmosphere in between both the Muslim community and the Hindu community.
So, your most landmark restoration was the Ram Mandir at Ayodhya. You've spent several years of your life. You lived in Ayodhya for a significant period to excavate the findings. I want to know from you, what are some of the evidences that made you believe that yes, this was the temple and that too of Ram?
First of all, I would like to correct you. It was not my excavation. It was Professor B.B. Lal. It was he who was the director of the excavation because he was the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. A very great man. He is like a rishi for all of us. I was one of the team members.
Okay.
But my position was because I was a government servant. A government servant should not speak about all these things, and especially in a newspapers. What I did is I spoke about it and I wrote about it also in Indian Express, which of course would have attracted a kind of suspension for me or even dismissal from the service. That was my perilous position. And at that time, the secretary was R.C. Tripathi. He told me, Mr. Muhammad, I am going to suspend you right now. All these facts, even we know it, but we did not speak it because you are a government servant. You are not supposed to speak about all these things. So I told him, sir, I had no bad intention. Because, I just wanted to make a statement which is a factual statement. And that too for the betterment of a world. And then I just simply quoted a Sanskrit verse from Bhagavad Gita. Loga samgrahame vapi sambashyan kartumarhasi. Whatever you do it for the betterment of the world. So he became further angry and he said, I am a Brahmin from Allahabad. You are teaching me Sanskrit. I am going to suspend you right now at this very moment. So I recited another Sanskrit shloka. Sir, I have done my duty. And it is now up to you to take the decision. Swadharme nidanam shreya. I have done my duty. And for that, even death is also welcome. So that was the changing moment in him. And he said, well, Mr. Muhammad, you have done the right thing. It should have been spoken by an archaeologist and you are an archaeologist. It should have been spoken by a Muslim archaeologist and you are a Muslim archaeologist. But my condition is, there is instruction to take action against you. तो मैंने कहा सर आपने जो भी चाहिए whatever you want any action you can take against me. There were some professors, all these people intervened and no hard action was taken against me. Only I was transferred from Tamil Nadu to Goa.
Okay.
That's all. Nothing more than that one.
Super. So you basically attested to the fact that this was actually Ram Mandir's abode.
We are archaeologists, so we
Yes.
have to get the facts.
Correct. What were the
And
facts?
that too, it should be hard facts.
Correct.
There should be substantial evidences should be there.
Yeah.
So when I went into the mosque earlier, before excavation, because whenever we excavate a place, what we do is we explore the place also. Explore means exploring all around, not exactly the place where we are going to excavate.
Okay.
Just to contextualize it. So first of all, you have to carry out the exploration. So as part of that exploration, when we went into the mosque, it was not a very problematic period at that time. It is 1976-77. So there was only one police person there. So he said that you cannot go inside.
In the Babri Mosque.
In the Babri Masjid, because it is under litigation. So I said, we are not part of that kind of litigation. We are excavators and we have come for exploration. We don't want to create any problem. If you say we should not go inside, we will not go inside. That's all. So that man was a very good person. You say that you are not going to create any problem, you can go. So when we went inside, we saw the mosque was standing on Hindu temple pillars. So you may ask me, how do you know that it is a Hindu temple pillars or
Correct.
Muslim pillars?
Yeah.
So that is precisely what we are being taught in our archaeological courses. So if you tell me that this is, if you show me a pillar, I would be able to tell you whether it is Hindu, Muslim, Christian or whatever it is. Not only that, I would be able to date it also. Approximately, there could be a difference of sometimes 50 years, or there would be a 60 years. We call it stylistic dating. On the basis of a style, we would be able to tell you. For example, if you show me a pillar, I would be able to tell you whether it belongs to Chandragupta Maurya's period, or Ashoka's period, or Kushana period, or Gupta period. Just on the basis of it's not a miracle. It is just on the basis of the style. Or if you show me an arch or some kind of pillars, I would be able to tell you whether it belongs to Akbar, or Jahangir, or Shah Jahan, or Aurangzeb. So we looked at it and dated, we said that it belongs to the 12th century AD. So that was, if you have many things have happened. Many temples have been destroyed. It's a fact. You just cannot conceal all these things. If you have any doubt, just go to Qutub area. Near Qutub area, there is a Quwwatul Islam mosque. There in that mosque, all the pillars are from the temple pillars. You have the historic evidence. This one is historic evidence. And the second thing is you can see it with your own naked eyes. There are so many images, even now, looking down upon you. Ganesha is there. Vishnu is there. There are so many Apsaras there are there. Many Bharavahagas are there. All of them of temples. You cannot deny that one. And with this one historical reference also, that 27 temples have been destroyed. And both Jain temple also and Hindu temples.
So it is on the ruins of these 27 temples that the Quwwatul Islam Mosque has been made in the Qutub Minar premises.
Yes.
Because someone says it is Vishnu's thumb, and that's not true.
No.
It is not an astronomical Dhruva Stamba and all of that.
No, it's not.
Okay.
That was because, during the Qutub Minar period, just before Qutub Minar period, there were several minars like this one in Ghazni, where from Muhammad Ghazni had come. There you have the minarets of Masood is there. And Behram Shah's minarets are there. And more than 60, 70, this kind of minarets are there. In Bukhara, in this one, Azerbaijan, you have got in this one, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, in all those areas. Even now, there are more than 60 this kind of minarets are there. So the Qutub Minar idea is completely Islamic. But of course, in an area of temples, that you should conceive. Whereas this Quwwatul Islam Masjid, that is completely, the whole temple was destroyed, and that was reused for the construction of a mosque. So we should be very clear whenever we divide that one, whenever we speak about it. So this has happened. So similarly, we went inside and we saw it, and then Professor Lal excavated on the western side of it, on the western side of Babri Masjid. So there he got pillar bases on which those pillars were standing. What we saw inside was 12 pillars, but there were many pillars like that one. We could not get those pillars, but we could get only the pillar bases. And then there were so many other sculptures also, terracotta sculptures of gods and goddesses from the same area. Now, had it been an Islamic area, do you think that you would have got the images of these kinds of gods and goddesses? It is never. You will be never getting this kind of things. So it was on the basis of that he had come to the conclusion that there was a temple of 12th century before the erection of this new mosque. So that was there, but that was a different period. So these Marxist historians like Irfan Habib and other people, they are not archaeologists. That is number one. Then what they did is, because they went into the newspapers and they gave a statement that Professor Lal has excavated the place, and he did not get any proof to support that there was a temple earlier. So they gave a statement, that he did not get any proof to support that there was a temple. So now Professor Lal was in a fix what to do, because he has to speak. So he was,
Why was he in a fix? He was sure about his work, right?
No, he was very sure about the work.
Yeah.
And that was published also. We have got an IAR, is there, Indian Archaeological Review. It was published in that one also. But it was not for the public, because public means, it should come in some of the newspapers and other things. So he had no way, and he had to prove that there was a temple earlier. For that, he came into the newspapers and he said, no, we have excavated and we have got many things which proves that there was an earlier temple, but we did not want to create a problem for the whole country. That was our philosophy. So at that time I was in Madras. I was a deputy superintending archaeologist in Archaeological Survey of India. I gave a statement that these people who have given this statement, they are all historians. They are not at all archaeologists. Archaeology is a technical subject. On a technical subject, only a person who knew archaeology, only they should speak. That is number one. Number two, I said that none of them had visited the site while the excavation was going on, and none of them have visited the site even after the excavation. So how can they make a claim? How can they give a statement on which they don't have any domain competence? They should not have given a statement like that one. So that was a sharp rap on the knuckle of these communist historians, because they had a lot of press connections at that time, and archaeologists are mostly introverts. They don't go to the press and other things. So this opportunity was mainly used by the historians, but for the first time they have been given an effective reply, and then there was no press statement by those people.
Okay. Sir, now I'm going to be asking you about the Qutub Minar. So the first claim, sir, that we already mentioned, it is the Hindu fundamentalists or the Hindu observers would say that it was the Hindu astronomical observation called the Dhruva Stambha. And as you mentioned that there are 27 Hindu and Jain temples that were plundered and the mosque was built.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you have ascertained, sir, is that Qutub Minar itself has not been built over a temple. It is the Quwwatul Islam Mosque, which is adjacent to the temple. Okay. The question I have, sir, is it is believed that Hindu masons were involved in the construction of the Qutub Minar.
Yes.
Is that true?
Oh, yes. Because, they are not they did not bring the entire thing from Central Asia or West Asia.
Okay.
They came, they had their own, the builders were there. Of course, the architects were there. But the sculptors, mostly they were Indians.
Okay.
And especially we had beautiful temples in those period. If you go to Khajuraho, most beautiful temple, the Kandariya Mahadev temple, the Lakshman temples, and all these things are beautiful pieces of art and architecture. So these builders were there. So all those people were utilized by the Muslim masters.
Okay.
So the architectural master would be a Muslim, because he is very well aware of the minaret. The minaret is, as I told you, because in Ghazni it was this kinds of minarets were there. In Garjistan, that is from Muhammad Ghori came, it was there then. Then Bukhara, Samarkand, and in all these places, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, in all these things, even now there are more than 60 such minarets are there. So, and they are polygonal minarets also. So this idea had come from these places. Of course, we had another kind of towers were there. For example, Kumbhalgarh, if you go, or Chittorgarh, you can show. But that would be mostly square. Ours were mostly square, and this was polygonal.
Okay.
So that was the kind of difference between the two.
Okay. So Hindu craftsmen were better than the Islamic craftsmen?
No, because both of them were very good.
Yeah.
But on stone, these people used to work.
Pardon?
That is our Indian, on stone.
Okay.
They were better karigars.
Okay.
But in Persia, if you go to Persia, their work was mostly on bricks.
Correct.
And then there would be glazed tiles also. So that glazed tile, it was brought by the Persians. It was not here in India. Similarly, the inlay work means, you have the precious stones, you cut it into various shapes, and then cut the marble and then inlay into that one. That was again brought by the Muslims to India from outside. So these were certain things. But the finest piece you can find in Taj Mahal. That is a very beautiful piece.
Correct.
That is beautiful. And there was this Pietra Dura work was there. In Italy also it was there. But from here it is mostly from Persia. So these kind of things, there are certain things which they have brought from that place also. So Hindustan is a place where many ideas came from different parts of the world. And this was the most experimental place for everything.
Okay. Is it true, sir, that Shah Jahan cut the hands of people who
These
constructed
are
the
all
Taj Mahal?
myth and mythologies.
Okay.
Because, it was Ustad Ahmad Lahori, who was the architect of Taj Mahal. And if you had to cut the hand of anybody, it should have been his hand. But it is the same person who has again then constructed Lal Killa, Red Fort in Delhi.
Okay.
So these are all, fascinating stories. Even now we listen to that kind of fascinating stories.
Okay, wonderful. Coming to Taj Mahal, sir, a claim usually by Hindu fundamentalists is that the Taj Mahal was the Tejo Mahalya temple, which is of the Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. No, not only they claim that one, that it was Tejo Mahalaya, that is number one. and it was constructed during the 11th century. That is their second claim. What is the importance of Taj Mahal? Taj Mahal, if you look at the structure, number one, arch,
Correct.
number two, minarets,
Correct.
number two, three, domes.
Yeah.
These are the three important things, and the marble is white marble. So, can you tell me any other temple which has been where this Tejo Mahalaya Shiva is enshrined? We don't find. Even if Tejo Mahalaya Shiva is there. Second thing is they claim it is 11th century.
Okay.
In 11th century, the true arch was not here in India.
11th century, there was no arch in India.
No true arch.
Okay.
There are two types of arch. One is false arch,
Yeah.
or it is known as corbelled arch.
Okay.
That is, it's an engineering term, Corbelled arch means if you want to make it arch, you put one stone there, one stone then similarly from here also. But there was no true arch in India in 11th century. It was brought by Muslims. That is number one. Number two, minarets. Can you ever think of a temple having a minaret? No. That was also brought by Muslims. And the third most crucial thing is the domes. The dome was also brought by Muslims. And in medieval Indian architecture, you had to divide into two sections. That is, one is from 1192, that is Muhammad Ghori. This one conquered Delhi, that is 1192. Up to 1526, that is the coming of Babur. This is known as Sultanate period. They came mostly from Afghanistan.
But Afghanistan was India, no? Back then.
Afghanistan was part of India.
So how are they Mughals then?
No, Mughals are not from Afghanistan.
Okay.
They are from Uzbekistan. That is from Central Asia.
Okay.
Yeah. They are from Uzbekistan. Sometimes we mistake these two. No, it's not like that.
Oh.
These people were mostly from, one is Aryan race. Those who have come from Afghanistan, they belong to Aryan race. And those who came from Central Asia, that is Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, they have come, from Central Asia. They are Mongoloids. They are not Aryans. Babur was a Mongoloid. He was from Timur. All of them were Genghis Khan. He was a Mongoloid. So there are two branches. So this dome came after the coming of Muslims. But that was a single dome. Single dome means there will be only one. But what is the dome of Taj Mahal? It is double dome.
So single dome is like Humayun's tomb.
No. That is that is the first double dome in India.
Okay.
And there is one more structure there. That is, Sabzuburj. Sabzuburj means that is in the center of Delhi, that Nizamuddin Square.
Okay.
So that was the first structure with a double dome. And the best expression is Humayun's dome. So this is a double dome. That double dome had not come to Persia also. That had come to Persia in 15th century. So if it had come into 15th century in the place of its origin, how can you place this Taj Mahal's double dome in 11th century? These are some extreme group of people, because they would be speaking about Pushpak Vimana also. They would be speaking that there was internet in ancient India. And in Mahabharata period also we had internet. So we knew this kind of surgery there at that time. Plastic surgery we knew. So these are that kind of extreme Hindu group of people.
Okay.
They don't think, rationally. And because of that, what happens is it creates a lot of problems now for the Indian community. That the problem is we had real solid achievement in science. For example, we were the people who had introduced the zero system. And similar great achievements were made in the field of science according to that period. So that real scientific achievements also would be now under cloud because of this extraordinary claims made by these people that we knew Pushpak Vimana, we knew surgery. So this is the problem now. The thing is, if you look at into internet and WhatsApp, this one, so many claims are now coming.
Correct.
As if, so many wild claims are coming.
WhatsApp University.
Yes,
from
WhatsApp University. And that too, they would be using, they would be hiring some English person with very good diction and with Oxford pronunciation. And we will think, yes, all of them are right, all of them are correct.
According to you, sir, there was no Pushpak Viman in Mahabharata?
How can you have it at that time? Pushpak Vimana, how can you? We just cannot think of having a Vimana at that time. It might be there in this one imagination, that's all. It is not possible. You can, if you want to run this one, you have to have diesel. Where were they taking diesel? Is it from Saudi Arabia?
Correct.
So this is kind of fantastic things, But many people would believe it.
Sir, you also demolished an extended part of the temple in and around the Taj Mahal
Ye-
complex?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
yes,
what
yes,
was the
yes.
story behind that?
That was a kind of illegal construction which they had carried out.
Okay.
Because, in as per our archaeological norms, if there was a temple or if there was a mosque earlier, it has no problem. You can have it. But at the same time, if you want to add anything, that cannot be done within a protected area. But some people, they had this one that was a BJP period at that time. So they thought, if somebody is making an extension of a temple, the government will not be taking any action. But when I saw this thing, because as per the rules, we have to take the action. So it was an extension which they had carried out illegally. Then immediately I gave a notice to the information. It was given to the commissioner. The commissioner gave the thing to the collector, and then collector, he constituted a small committee in which I was heading the committee. And then what we have done is, we went and dismantled that extended portion. That is the illegal portion. We just dismantled it, and then it was finally removed also.
Okay. I want to talk about the Bhojshala complex. The Bhojshala complex in Dharan, Madhya Pradesh, on which the mosque is built now, was originally a Saraswati temple.
It was
Is that
a
true?
Saraswati temple. There is no doubt about it.
How and why?
Even now, if you go there, it's like, as I told you about the Quwwatul Islam Mosque.
Yeah.
There are a number of sculptures. It was under me, and while I was there also, problem was there. But, we just wanted to solve the problem very amicably. So it was originally a Saraswati temple. It was converted into a mosque, and then the prayer was going on during the Friday.
Okay. For Muslims.
Then by the Muslims.
Yeah.
Right? Then later on, the Hindu community also, they came, and for them, Monday was allowed. One day, they can come and worship. That was also okayed by the Honorable High Court of the Jabalpur. So that is continuing now, but at the same time, the issue is also now coming out. So my submission is that, you just cannot undo everything what had happened. But at the same time, three important places. That is, one is Ram Janambhoomi. That problem is already settled. Then the second thing is Mathura. Mathura, it was earlier a temple.
Yeah.
And during the period of Aurangzeb, it was dismantled. It was converted into a mosque. Now there is a huge Shahi mosque also.
Shahi Idgah Mosque.
Shahi Idgah Mosque.
Yeah.
And then third thing is Gyanvapi. That is, it was again a temple earlier. Now you have got a mosque. So these three important places are very important for the Hindu community. And as a way forward, these three important places should be given by the Muslim community to Hindu community. So often people ask me, do you have any guarantee that Hindus will not make any claim? I say I cannot. Of course, we cannot give any claim. But generally, the Hindu community is the most tolerant community because it can adjust and admit everything. For example, you believe in God or you don't believe in God. You have a place in Hinduism, but in Islam it is not like that. If you don't believe in, you are not a Muslim. In Christianity, if you are not believing in Jesus Christ, then you are not a Christian. So it is one of the most elastic religions. India is secular. It's only because, Hindu community is a majority community. Otherwise, it would never have been a secular country. They could have converted into a Hindu community because the country known as Pakistan has been given to Muslims. Even after that, they did not make it a Hindu community, in Hindu country. They preferred to make it a secular country. So that is only because Hindu majority. So this is, the Hindu, when he sees this kind of destruction right before his eyes, automatically it would make him not only angry, his blood would boil. So these three important places, it should be handed over by the Muslim community, and the Hindu should stop that there. They should not make any further claim for 3,000 or for whatever it is. They should not make any claim because then it would be a civil war.
Correct.
So that should not happen. What we want is both Muslims and Hindus, they should live very harmoniously. Let the begons be begons. But at the same time, Muslims should be ready to admit their historical mistake which was committed by those people who were there during the medieval period. That itself is a healing touch for the Hindu community. Otherwise, they will forget everything. It is now because certain politicians are there, they would be creating problem, but the Hindu community will soon forgive it because, they don't believe violence is not in Hindu community. So that is the best part of Hinduism.
Okay.
If it was either Christian majority or Islamic majority, it would never have been a secular country. So that when I spoke all these things, I spoke about these things in a Gulf country that is in Oman, and almost all of them accepted because it was mainly a gathering of
Muslims,
this one Kerala Muslims,
Yeah.
and many of them had their own affiliation with this one. Some of the outstanding Jamaat Islami, and they have a different student wing also, and they accepted. They said what you have said is right. And why don't you say the same thing with the Sayyid Shahabuddin? Sayyid Shahabuddin was leading at that time the Ayodhya issue from the Muslim side.
Okay.
I said that I don't know. I didn't know him at that time. But in a later case, I happened to meet him, and I happened to correspond with him also. In fact, he wrote me a letter. And then when I told him all these facts, he accepted, but at the same time, he is not ready to commit to it.
Coming to Gyan Vyapi, sir, I think one of the most topical issues in today's time is the Gyan Vapi case. Basically, again, comes down to Aurangzeb demolished a Shiva temple and then built a mosque over it. What are some of the evidences that you have that has come to you, which makes you certain that this was in fact a temple?
Number one is, as I told you,
Yeah.
The reminiscences of Aurangzeb itself. It is Mahasira Alangiri, written by Saki Mustahid Khan. Second thing is, if you go there, have you been to this place?
I have been to Kashi Vishwanath. It's next to
just
that,
by
right?
adjacent to that
So
one.
I'll tell you an observation, sir. I was at Kashi Vishwanath. I didn't know that was the Gyan Vapi. This was a few years ago.
Acha.
But you know what I saw? I saw a Nandi.
Yes.
And I'm
Oh,
thinking,
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like, because the thought that comes to mind is, yaar, mosque ke bahar Nandi kya kar raha hai? Because
Nandi kya kar
Nandi
raha hai?
is a insignia or a symbol of a yogic or a Hindu temple.
Yeah.
So that made me wonder, and then I think later this came up. So
Yes. If you look at the Nandi itself, Nandi is looking towards the mosque.
Yes.
If a Hindu see this thing,
Yeah.
that thing has been completely destroyed,
Yeah.
that is during Aurangzeb, his blood would boil. Because I have been visiting, because that was within my jurisdiction. So I have visited this place number of times.
Okay.
Both this Gyanvapi also, Mathura also. Mathura, when I was posted in Agra, it was coming under me. Although it was not a protected monument, the area was coming under me. So I have visited all these places several times, not 1, 2, 3, 4. Spoken to the people there.
Okay. It is an established fact that mosques that have been built on temple ruins, in Delhi alone, about 24 temples have been ruined on which mosques have been built. 27 temples. I want to understand from you the psychology of Islam.
Acha.
Yeah.
Islam has a kind of uncompromising attitude towards the idol worship. It is a very uncompromising attitude of Islam, which created the other problems. Because, idol worship is haram in Islam. So they started destroying the sculptures and idols also. It is an uncompromising attitude. And the second thing is, they think that only their religion is the right religion and all other religions are false, not acceptable to Allah. That is the second mistake done by them. And the third mistake is, they think that if others are not Muslims, it is their duty to get them converted into Islam. So all these three things, when this is a very strong ideology comes into place, that creates a situation where it is not possible for other religions to survive. This has created a very big problem. For example, in Egypt, there was a very strong civilization, but everything was completely wiped out by Islam, and the entire Egyptian people, they have been brought into Islam. Similarly, you had a very strong civilization in Persia. The great Darius, Cyrus, Sarkis, and all those people, it was completely destroyed by Islam, and everything was brought into Islamic fold. They failed in India, and they failed in China also. They could not convert China also. They could not fail this one India also. Because in India, we could survive all these things because of the inherent length and width of Hinduism, because we could stand against it. Of course, we caved in, that is true. But at the same time, Hinduism could survive it because of its own inherent qualities. You look at Indonesia and Malaysia, everything has been now completely wiped out. Otherwise, it was also a very strong civilization. So this has created a very big problem, and they could not adjust with the time with which they were moving. Islam, Christianity has adjusted,
Okay.
but at the same time, I mean, these are the two strong religion, Semitic religion, with uncompromising attitude. But still, they have evolved. Christianity has evolved. Muslims have not started showing any kind of this one likeness for any kind of evolution. It should have evolved with along with the time, but unfortunately, it has not happened. Look at the Parda system of the Muslim community. A half group of people, I mean, a total half of the people, that is the women's community, they are still behind the veils. So these problems are there. So unless and until Muslim community reform themselves, I think the future would be very bleak. The Hindu community, a section of the Hindu community, they are also exploiting the situation. For example, the love jihad system.
Correct.
The love jihad system, with this, they say that many ladies are being converted into Islam. They are
Yeah.
going to Syria. There could be, I admit, because I am in Kerala, I admit there will be 4 or 5 cases like that one. But more than that, I mean, to make it an issue, I don't think that much of cases had not happened in Kerala also.
Okay.
There might have been few cases. Of course, I don't deny that one. But making a hill out of the whole thing, that was with the political intention of a section of the Hindu community. They had started it.
Okay.
If you look at 50 years back, the picture was different, but now the picture is different. Of course, in this aspect, as far as the Parda system now, it has increased. In my childhood,
Oh, it has increased.
has increased. In my childhood, there was no Parda system in Kerala.
Oh.
But now, I mean, since the last 30, 40 years, it has increased like anything. Might be a kind of influence from this one, Gulf countries, because many of them are going for the jobs to Gulf countries, and when they come back, they adopt that kind of Parda system also.
So burqas, abayas, they are not a part of Quran. The Quran doesn't endorse this, that you should cover your head and you should wear burqas.
I mean, that is a moderate dressing is that, of course, is from the side of Islam. But this kind of typical dress and other things, that is a Persian, this one, not of Arabic origin.
Yeah.
So that now it has become part of the Islam also. Just look at it. I mean, today, while we were coming to this program,
Yeah.
the way some of these Muslim ladies in Bombay were dressing, it was a very strange to understand. Even in such a advanced city, you have this kind of people even at this age.
So none of these facets have been endorsed in Quran, sir, which means is it
No,
misinterpreted?
It's not only in Quran, because in the Quran is there, then Hadith is there,
Okay.
and then there are certain Islamic jurisprudence is also there. So all this jurisprudence and other things, these are interpretations of Islam,
Okay.
but you can interpret it differently.
Okay. Okay.
So in other religion, you can interpret it differently, but that kind of freedom is not there in Islam.
So is most of Islamic understanding misinterpreted?
We can say it is interpreted also, rightly interpreted. They will say it is rightly interpreted, but a progressive person would find it is misinterpreted. Or why is it not able to evolve along with the time? Because along with the time you have to change yourself. But in other religion it is happening, but at the same time it is not happening here in Islam.
Okay.
Sati system was
Yeah.
there earlier. Polygamy and polyandry was there earlier in Hinduism, but now it has evolved out of it. And similarly, Muslims also should have evolved out of it. For example, the Shariat property distribution. Why Muslims, I mean, are not giving equal right to the ladies? It should have been there, but Muslims are not evolving.
You have very beautifully also talked about how Islam didn't have a culture of its own and it's borrowed from various places such as Spain, Egypt, India, and Central Asia.
Yes.
In what sense has it borrowed?
Because Arabs were mostly Bedouins. They were Bedouins because they were not having any kind of culture of its own. But at the same time, nearby people, Persian, it was a wonderful culture, Persian culture. And this one, that is Sasanian culture, it is known as. Similarly, Syria, they have got Byzantine culture. It was sandwiched in between the whole thing. But these people, they conquered Syria and accepted whatever was there in Syrian civilization, that is Byzantine civilization, conquered Egypt, accepted whatever was the best in Egyptian civilization. Similarly, from this one also, Persian civilizations also. And when they came to India, similarly, they accepted many things from Indian civilizations also. So, India, otherwise, they were simply Bedouin people. They were not having any kind of culture.
Okay.
But having put all these things, they could evolve a culture of their own that is known as now Islamic culture.
Okay. You have quoted Sir John Marshall. Seldom in the history of mankind has the spectacle been witnessed of two civilizations so vast and so strongly developed, yet so radically similar as the Mohammedan and the Hindu meeting and mingling together. I thought this was so beautiful and a beautiful testament to a potential unity between the two
Yes.
religions
Yes.
because there are a lot of similarities.
Yes,
Sir.
yes,
In what
yes.
ways?
Similarities means, similarity, I would not say these are a different way of looking at life.
Yeah.
One is a highly liberal, that
Yeah.
is Hinduism. And the second one is, highly, it has got its own very strong framework.
Yeah.
If both these can come together,
Yeah.
they can create miracles.
Yeah.
We don't know whether this will happen or not.
Yeah. Okay. One argument that I had read was Akbar may not have been a very well meaning emperor because there have been accounts of him raping women. And a lot of narratives that we get to hear about Akbar has been, sensationalized by these movies like Jodha Akbar. Is that true? Is there any merit in this
No,
argument?
because I don't think there was any case of, recordically there was any this one accusation against him
Okay.
of raping women or anything of that. It is not there. He was deeply religious in the earlier period because he became the king at the age of 14,
Yeah.
and then almost by 1570, that is in 1556. By 1572, he conquered almost main part of India. So this, even he was born as a refugee because he was running from pillar to post when his father was defeated. He was running from pillar to post, and he was a virtual refugee. And that refugee became this one emperor, and then he became the emperor of Hindustan, and he was having this one kingdom right from Afghanistan up to the Narmada. So that was the very big empire at that time. So in the earlier period, he was a staunch religious person. But by the age of 30, 32, 35, then he realized Islam alone is not the right religion. And other religions are also there. There were two Hindu religious teachers for him. One is Devi and the other one is Purushottam. So they used to instruct him in Hinduism about Lord Shiva, about Vishnu and everything. If you go to Fatehpur Sikri, there is a sculpture of Lord Rama there, and Hanuman is doing puja. So these things are there. So in the earlier stage, he was a staunch religious Muslim, Islamic religious person. Then he realized that Islam alone is not the right religion. There are other religions also. He was very much attached to Hinduism. Similarly, he was very much attached to Jain teachers. And there were many Hira Vijay Suri, Vijay Sena Suri, Bhanu Chandra Upadhyay. These were his Hindu Jain teachers. Then the Parsi, this one, teachers, Zoroastrians, they used to come in numbers. And then the Christian fathers also.
But is it true that he was going to be converting to Christianity at one point?
No, because the Christian fathers came. So he listened to them very carefully. And at the same time, he questioned Islamism also.
Okay.
So because of that, the people thought, Akbar is on the verge of converting into Christianity. This father, Rudolf Akbar, he wrote a letter also that this man is on the verge of conversion to Christianity. So they were hoping if the king is converted into Christianity, then the whole country would be converted into. That used to happen in European countries. They were hoping that one. So they wrote a letter also. But later on, they realized, no, this man he writes another letter then, in which he says, one day he worshipped like that of a Hindu, second day like that of a Christian, the third day like that of a Muslim. We just cannot understand this man. Perhaps he doesn't believe in any religion at all.
He did that? He used to
Yes,
worship?
he writes. Yes.
So Akbar used to worship one day Hindu, one day Muslim, one day Christian?
Whatever he felt, that which was closer to his, this one.
Okay.
Because he was like a devout, this one he would be, because Jodhabai or Akbar's wife, She was there in the harem. That was the marriage had taken place in
Yeah.
1562. So since that, I mean, he was drawn to Hinduism also. And Hinduism, again, a very, this one, I mean, a liberal religion, something which was very closer to his heart. But the Christianity, although he was interested in Christianity, he was spiritually not inclined towards Christianity, because it was also like Islamism. Very strong framework is there. So Akbar could not live in a very strong framework. And all other things, because now a very strong group of Hindus, they wanted to bring down Akbar. Bring down Akbar, I mean, they would not attack Aurangzeb. It was Aurangzeb who had destroyed temple. They would not attack Aurangzeb that way. They attacked Akbar. So Akbar was a liberal person. So liberal persons, they would not be accepted either by this group or by that group. So even about Akbar also it is said, ये जाहिद तंग नज़र ने मुझे काफिर जाना, ये जाहिद तंग नज़र ने मुझे काफिर जाना, काफिर ये समझता है कि मुसलमान हूँ मैं. So that was the perplexity of Akbar.
Is it true that he wore a vermilion, a sindoor like Hindus?
Yes. He
Akbar
used
wore
to-
sindoor on his forehead like
yes,
Hindus?
Yes. He used to, this one, I mean, Deepavali, he used to, this one, celebrate.
Okay. Sir, you've risked your life countless times. I mean, you've been so honest, you've been so blatant, you've been so no hold bars. You've had run ins with dacoits, with Naxalites, with politicians, and I'm sure even with, Islamist fundamentalists. Was any of this ever a threat to your life?
See, coming from Islamic religion,
Yeah.
and that too, my area is 90% because,
Correct.
I come from Koduvally, that is a municipal town now. 90% or 80% it is Muslim community. And it's a very strong community. And there is an organization known as PFI. That is a banned organization now. And many of the founder leaders are, once upon a time, my classmates also, and my friends also. So coming from that background, and myself having such a liberal idea, when you should expect all kinds of dangers. And I was also sure, because these people, some of them, they had chopped off the hand of a professor. They had killed some of the people. That is this strong PFI group of people. And some of them are in Delhi jails also. There was a very strong, this one, danger to my life. And I was, for 3 years, I was under the police protection also. After the judgment of this one, Ayodhya.
Okay.
I hardly came out of my house. And if at all I go anywhere, there would be accompanied by a armed police person along with me. But somehow I could survive it. By that time, fortunately, COVID had locked the entire world. And partly because
Yeah.
of that also, I could escape. Otherwise, the chances were very limited. And Naxalites and other things, it was not such a big danger for me, because, there is a psychological aspect. Once they come to know that you have a real interest, you have a passion for the reconstruction of the temples, then they would help you. So I could exploit that psychological aspect. So my name has got a special ring. Muhammad, that means when they remember Muhammad Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori, who had destroyed our temples. And now that Muhammad is coming for the
Restoring temples.
restoring temples. So initially they will look at you with suspicion. But once they realize that this man is passionate and mad after the temples, then you will be getting this kind of support which a Sharma or a Mishra will not be getting. So that kind of psychological, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. That reaction takes place. And then you enjoy a rapport with those dacoits also, and the Naxalites also, which would be come in a completely different way. So I had that kind of support. And I'm a rational thinker. Not I would not call myself a rationalist, but still I had some kind of inexplicable connection with Lord Shiva.
Yeah. He came in
with
your
Adi
dream.
Yogi. Yeah.
Shiva came in your dream.
Yeah, it came in dream also, and sometimes in a trance also.
Oh.
That was in Jageshwar temple. Once I went to Jageshwar temple, because that was also within my jurisdiction. And I went in front of the Lord Shiva, and immediately I went into a trance. And Jagmohan ji was coming on that particular day. So I just wanted to see whether the temple is clean, neat and clean, and everything is in order. Early in the morning, I went to the temple. And the pujari also, when they had just come, and then I went into a trance, and then I felt that this one, the serpent of Lord Shiva, that is uncoiling and then giving me protection. So I was in a trance. I just asked Lord Shiva, it is your abhushan. Why do you want to give it to me? So it said, yes, it is my abhushan, but you require it now. And the second, and then it said, that I will appear tomorrow again. I woke up, and then I told my friend, there was one of my friends, and I told him that this has happened with me. So he said, let us see, something will happen tomorrow. So the next day I had to go to another group of temple, that is Katarmal temples, 60 kilometers away from here. So I went to the site, and in front of me is two, three other people, my friends, they went away. And when I came, the same serpent, it came just, waved at his hood, and then it disappeared. So I just remembered that one. Within a week, the Taj Heritage Corridor problem that broke up. The chief secretary was, Mayavati had to resign. The chief secretary was suspended. 4 secretaries were suspended. And Mayavati asked in many of her interviews, my people have been suspended, and why the officer in charge of Taj Mahal, he has not been suspended?
Which is you.
Yes, that is me. So then I remembered that one, this has happened me. That is a kind of mystical connection, inexplicable connection. But I don't explicitly say all these things, because, it is a personal experience.
There was a petition for the mosque that was filed in 1991, right? The petition for Ayodhya was filed in 1991. Created a lot of backlash. This matter did not come to surface then. Why is it coming to surface now? Because politically, we understand, if we have to go by political parties, it was a time of the Congress, right? I think 91 to 96, there was Congress. And then you had Bajpayeeji's government soon after, around, I think, so BJP came into power in 1998. The issue of Ayodhya could have also been resurfaced in 98. So the thing that comes to mind is it the political party or is it the leadership? What do you think?
Vajpayee's period, BJP was not having a comfortable majority. At that time, it was a coalition government. In coalition government, there are so many compulsions also. And the second part is, Vajpayee was a completely different person.
Yeah.
He was more of a secular person, and he had a very noble ideas and other things, So both these factors have combinedly might have forced them not to push up this issue. If he also wanted to push up this thing, there would have been some of his coalition partners who would not have sided him. So it is only after getting an absolute majority, single majority, now BJP has come for that one. And by that time, you have a different type of leadership also.
Okay. You think it could have happened without Modi?
It was very difficult. It was very difficult.
Okay.
Not only this Ayodhya issue, I look at this one also, the Banaras issues. Banaras is now a very neat and clean town, and Somnath temple has been given a new lease of life. There were many critics of Modi ji at that time. But the same, I know the whole Banaras, 20, 30 years back also, because, that was again falling within my jurisdiction. Because if you could not have gone to some of the banks of Ganges, it was dirty everywhere. It was in a horrible state. All those gullies and other things, Vishwanath Gully was in a horrible condition. वो कहते हैं सांड, सन्यासी और सीडी, वो बनारस के जो important चीज़ है, everywhere human excretas would be there, urine would be there, and especially the banks of river Ganga, it was an open toilet. But now you go to Banaras. So this also, one is this one Ayodhya issue, and the second thing is rejuvenation of the entire city of Banaras. That also would not have happened if Modi ji was not there.
Okay. So this is in November 1989 in a publication titled The Political Abuse of History, Babri Masjid Ram Janmabhoomi Dispute. We have an analysis by these 25 top historians that you mentioned were historians but not archaeologists who supported the Babri Masjid Action Committee, which stated that the Babri Masjid was in fact a masjid and not a temple. Now, they might not be archaeologists, sir. This is a counter argument. They might not be archaeologists, but they were who's who in the field of, let's say, history. Like Dr. Irfan Habib is a Padma Bhushan or Romila Thapar, and there were various others that you have mentioned in your book. I want to understand that what made them so sure of that claims? What were their arguments in that analysis reports which made them believe that the Babri Masjid was in fact a masjid and was not built on a virgin land.
So there they have gone wrong. The problem is, they made this statement without making any proper study of the place. So if they said that it was made on the virgin land means, before that, before the construction of the mosque, there was neither a Hindu temple nor a Muslim mosque. That was their statement. But then what happened is, because now the technology has improved, earlier the technology was not there. Then GPR survey was conducted.
Okay.
GPR survey means ground penetrating survey. So for that, you don't, earlier we had to excavate the place, then only you would be able to say, no, there was something or there was nothing. But now GPR survey could have been just place the instrument that would tell you whether there is any, whether there was any structure below the mosque or not. The survey said, yes, there are so many structures below the mosques. So that was a shock again for the second shock for them, because they have already made the statement that it is made on the virgin land. There is neither a Hindu structure nor an Islamic structure. But now the GPR survey says, there are structures inside. So that is the thing, because they don't have any kind of proper study. They simply speak on the historical material. They don't know anything about archaeology. They don't know anything about the layers of archaeology, because all these are very technical subjects, So you should have come out with your opinion only after making the proper study. Of course, they were all historians, that much we admit it. But on a technical subject like this one, they should not have come out without making a proper study.
Okay. Sir, another counterclaim against the Ram Mandir was that the Hindus were only worshipping the outer courtyard of the Babri Masjid and that the Hindu idols were placed only, I think, around 1949.
Yeah.
So what would you have to say to that?
No, because that is true. Because that was this one planted in 1947. Before that, it was not there. But Hindu community, right from the very beginning, they had never gone out of the place, because they continued to worship, and they continued to claim their worship also, because it was the birthplace of our Lord Ram.
Right.
So that continuous stand was there. So that was one very helpful thing, on the basis of which finally the Honorable Supreme Court gave the judgment in favor of the temple. So that the claim was there. Of course, because the Muslims had their own political power. At certain period, they could not worship. That is true. But at the same time, they did not forgo their claim at any period of time. That claim was already there. That was accepted by the Honorable Supreme Court also. But that doesn't mitigate the earlier stand of the Hindu community, that continuously, even after the demolition of it also, they used to worship it at that place. So that was the main reason on the basis of which the Honorable Supreme Court had passed the judgment in favor of the temple. Otherwise, the Hindu community, the claim would not have been as strong as it was.
Correct. Another claim, sir, is that how do we know that the Ram Mandir is relevant to Ram and say no other god like Shiva, for example?
See, in Hinduism, there is no hard and fast rule for anything. Even if it is a Shiva temple, just by the side of it, you will be having a Vishnu temple also. Go to any of our temples, the main deity would be one. Sometimes it would be Vishnu, sometimes it would be Shiva, sometimes it would be Ganapati also, sometimes it would be Brahma also. Brahma very rarely. But by the side of it, you will be having this one small temple of another one also. That is known as Panchayatana. Panchayatana means there will be one main deity, and then there will be four other deities on the four sides. So this kind of worship, it was always continued here in India, except in some parts of South India, because in South India, you have hardened Shiva Bhaktas also, hardened Vishnu Bhaktas also. Iyer and Iyengar community of southern India is one particular example. But that was not the case here in North India. In India, Shiva Bhakta worshipping Shiva, and then he would go to Vishnu also.
Okay.
So it is known as Shivaya Vishnu Namaya, Shiva Namaya Vishnuve, Shivasya Hridayam Vishnu, Vishnusya Hridayam Shiva. So it is one and the same thing, That these people did not know. Again, because you should know the nonsense of Hindu religion.
Yeah.
And what is the difference between South India and North India? That also these people did not know. So that is why they created such a, this one issue out of all these things.
So it is a possibility. I'm saying a possibility only that the Ram Mandir could have in fact been a Shiva temple. Is that a possibility?
No.
Okay.
Because you have this one inscription is there. That inscription, it is in 20 lines. It is known as Vishnu Hari Shilapala.
Okay.
So which very clearly
the Devanagari
says,
inscription.
Devanagari of 12th century, which very clearly says that this temple of Vishnu is dedicated to that Vishnu who has killed Bali. So who is that person who has killed Bali? It is Lord Sri Ram. Again it says who has killed 10-headed person. Who is that 10-headed person? That is Ravan. Who has killed him? That is Lord Vishnu.
Another counterclaim is that the Ram temple is more holier for Buddhists and for Jains in comparison to Hindus. Do you agree?
No. Because, again, these people say they got during the excavation, a circular temple was excavated. So these people say, that is the communist people say, circular thing means that is a
Parikrama.
Buddhist stupa. That is a
Okay.
Buddhist stupa because, that would
Yeah.
be circular. But in Hinduism, you have got a number of this one, Chausat Yogini temples. Chausat Yogini temple are all circular temples. When the excavation was conducted, we got that this one, that pranala. Pranala means every day you have to bathe the deity. If it is Shiva, you have to bathe Shiva. If it is Vishnu, you have to bathe Vishnu also. And that Abhisheka Jala, that would be going out of this through Pranala. So that Pranala was excavated. And this Pranala is an exclusive architectural feature of a Hindu temple. Because in Buddhist stupas, you don't have that kind of Jalabhisheka is not there. You will not get it in a Jain temple also.
Okay.
They don't know about the Hindu ritualism. What is the difference between the Hindu ritualism and the Buddhist ritualism? Alexander Cunningham had spoken about the Buddhist and Jain structures, but that is not here. That is not in Janmasthan. It is in the greater Ayodhya. In the greater Ayodhya, I accept.
Okay.
Yeah, in the greater Ayodhya, I accept. There will be, because if you take this area, there will be Hindus also, Muslims also, Christians also, Buddhists also, Jains also. But at the Janmasthan, there was no Buddhist activity, there was no Jain activity also.
Sir, in respect to Ayodhya and Babri Masjid, you've gone on to say that if one continues excavating, more temple ruins can be found. Can you tell us about this?
It should have been, that excavation should have been carried out at that time itself, or just after that also. Up to 2019, you could have carried out excavations wherever you want. But now, because recently 1 month back, I went to Ayodhya and the whole township has come. Now you cannot make any kind of excavation there. Everything has been completely now vandalized. So now it is not possible to do that, conduct that kind of excavation. But it should have been done right from 2019 itself. Because I had spoken to some of the people also that before making any further this one construction, you should at least excavate the entire thing, and then the whole area that should have been excavated, and you should go for some underground this one museums also, so that these museums, whatever material you are getting, that you can keep it in the museum, and there should be an underground this one air conditioned museum. That should have been the best thing. But now they are coming up with an international museum, of course, and that is at a different place, that is away from this place. At least we would be able to save so many things now, and we would be able to project it also, so that people would come to know what are all the things that have been excavated.
Okay.
Even during the construction also, they have recovered many materials. That is also now kept there in that museum, that international museum.
Okay. How many temple ruins do you think can be found or could have been found in Ayodhya complex?
See, when we went there were mostly temples of 17th and 18th centuries.
Okay.
But even before that, there would have been, especially during the Gupta period onwards, there might have been many temples.
There is also a mention that the Muslim League and the Jamaat-e-Islami were contemplating gifting the land to Hindus at one point.
There was a lot of discussions about all those things. Even among the Muslim community also, because at that time I was in a Allegation Muslim University at that time. Many people were thinking of finding out a solution for this one, because the Muslim community is only 4% there. And there is no point in having a mosque there. Nobody is going to come for the namaz and other things. And in the vicinity, in the core vicinity of the area, you don't have any Muslim community also. So this thinking was going on. And many liberal Muslims were also, not only in this place, in outer area also, there were many liberal Muslims who were also seriously discussing about this thing, about gifting the land to Hindu community for constructing a huge Rama temple.
Okay.
But the entire process was reversed or stopped by these communist historians like Irfan Habib and some of the JNU historians, because they told them that if you are going to give one particular structure, that is Babri Masjid, now at this time to Hindu community, they have a long list of near about more than 3,000. That argument, that really stopped the Muslim community.
But so what is the problem if there is a list and excavation efforts have to be made in that direction? What is the problem?
No, because then there will be thousands of 3,000 means it's a huge this one. So there will be number of this one mosque which you will have to give back to the Hindu community. So that will be creating a lot of problem. That would be a kind of civil war itself. That should not happen, because there will be a lot of problems. Displacements would be there in the community. So not only in the community, the whole country there will be problem.
Okay.
So that was the argument of these Marxist historians, and that created the whole problem. Otherwise, the issue would have been solved in an amicable way.
Correct. You initially spoke about some structures which are distinctly Hindu and some which are distinctly Islam. For the viewers, as a common man who's not a historian, who's not an archaeologist, how can I tell apart between a Hindu structure and a Muslim structure?
A Hindu structure always would be having a shikara. Go to any of the North Indian temples, it would be having a shikara. You know that shikara would be the upper part of a temple, because it would be having the lower part would be Vedibandha, that is your foot. Then it would be Janga, then it would be Varandika, then it is Shikara. That is the main part of the temple is known as Shikara. And then on the top of it, there would be Mastaka. So if you find this kind of structures, that means you have a temple there.
Okay.
And in Islamic structure, number 1, there will be an arch. Number 2, there will be a minaret. Number 3, there will be dome. So these are the 3 important with this one architectural members, on the basis of which you can say this is Islamic and this is Hindu.
Okay.
Again, if you go to a Buddhist temple,
Yeah.
it is almost like a Hindu temple only, but that would be having a stupa also. This stupa is again exclusively of the Buddhist community. So on the basis of these things, and if you go to a church, and that church would be having a Jesus Christ on cross.
Yeah.
And then there will be a madbaha. Madbaha means where the pulpit would be there, where the priest would be standing. So these are certain symbols on the basis of which we can say this is Hindu, this is Islamic, this is Buddhist, and this is Christian.
Okay. So going back to the previous topic, an observation that I had, and you can tell me how true that is archaeologically. The yogic tradition, I wouldn't even call it the Hindu tradition, because the Hindu came out of the yogic tradition.
Yeah.
We say, initially the yogic tradition is a tradition without any gods. It's a godless tradition.
Yes.
Even Shiva is not known as God. He's known as Adi Yogi, the first yogi, which is why we,
Yes.
revere him. Is it a possibility that because the yogic tradition dates back 15,000 to 40,000 years ago, although we only have
No,
evidence
you are talking about 15,000 BC or AD?
I would say ago. I don't know BC AD. I would say from today, 15,000 to 40,000 years ago.
40,000.
Yeah, between 15 to 40,000 years is what it is said. And we have a record evidence of only 5,000. Like they say 5,000 years ago, we have a written record, but it is said it can be anywhere where history has not testified it, but it can be anywhere between 15,000 to 40,000 years ago. So my question was that the idea of consecrated places, energized places that one can utilize for their own personal well-being came from the yogic tradition, because that precedes all religions. Is it a possibility that many religions, or I would say all religions, could have borrowed from the yogic tradition, because every religion has their own, place of worship and their own energized centers of personal well-being. Is it possible?
No, number 1, as a student of archaeology, I do not agree that 15 to 40,000 years before this yogic tradition was there.
Okay.
Because, we have got certain periods of time archaeologically, in which Neolithic period is 10,000 years back. That means 8,000 BC.
Okay.
So this yogic traditions and other things should start after that one, not before Neolithic period.
What was before 10,000 years?
Before 10,000 years, because the human evolution, if you look at it, there was a difference between this one gorilla and human being. That is, we call it Australopithecus. Australopithecus means he can stand like this one.
Okay.
His hands are not completely free, but he can stand like this one. He cannot stand completely erect, but he can stand like that one. So once he could stand erect, then he could use this opposing power of his
Okay.
thumb. The entire evolution of mankind from the simple prehistoric tool up to the 6th, 7th or 8th generation of computer, everything depends upon this one.
Opposable thumbs.
Yeah, opposing power
Okay,
of thumb.
correct.
And also at the same time, his CC, that is power of this one, that also started developing. This one, gorilla's CC is only 450 cc. But the
What is
first man,
CC?
that is means it's a measurement of the skull.
Okay,
The skull,
okay.
yeah. But the first human being, that is, who was there 30 lakh years of back, that was only 500 cc. But today's human being, it is more than 1200 or 1300 cc.
Okay.
So that is the human evolution.
Okay.
In this human evolution, Neolithic period means that is 10,000 years from today. BP, that is before present. If it comes to BC, it would be
Christ.
8,000. Yeah,
Okay.
it would be 8,000 years. So any kind of spiritual development should be after that one, not earlier, but after that one.
Okay.
But at the same time, the spiritual development of yogism and other things,
Yeah.
or Sufism, what you call it,
Yeah.
these are all in every civilization, it would be there. There would be a kind of borrowing from one thing, they can take it to the other also, from the second thing they can take to this one also. That kind of borrowing, taking as a loan, this continues. So India has a stronger claim because here we have got several examples of this yogic tradition is there, which is not attached to any particular religion.
Correct.
It embraces all kinds of religion. So it has got a better claim. So it is possible. But if stronger claims comes, from other side, we should be ready to accept that also.
Okay. In this timeline, sir, that you mentioned, 10,000 years. So 10,000 years ago, say you will see all these developments, right?
Yeah.
Where would you place Ramayana and Mahabharata?
Ramayana would be roughly around 2000 BC,
Which would be how many years from today?
from 4000.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah.
But,
And
yeah.
Mahabharata would be roughly around 1400 BC.
Okay.
There could be a difference of 200 years
Yeah.
only, because Ramayana and Mahabharata, 200, 300, 400, it could be anywhere.
Okay. So, sir, in the yugas,
Yeah.
when we say Satyug, Treta Yug,
Satyajit,
Dwapar, Kali,
Dwapara, Kali Yuga, yeah.
each yugas are thousands and thousands of years and maybe lakhs
We
also.
cannot believe, and archaeologically, we don't contribute to that kind of yuga system. Yeah.
Okay. So, so archaeologically, the yuga system is not testified. Am I
No,
right?
it is not testified. This is not testified.
Sir, I want to talk about the lost cities in India and maybe some of the old cities in India. And I want to start with the most famous submerged city of Dwarka.
Yeah.
What are your findings? I know it is in
No,
process, but
it's
what are your...
not my finding because,
Yeah.
I could not do anything in that. But, when Professor S.R. Rao, who had initially conducted the Dwaraka excavation, he was my teacher also.
Yeah.
So I learned this underwater swimming under his direction. So
Okay.
we attended many of these classes, and I wrote about this Dwaraka excavation also.
Yeah.
So this is, it was his excavation and his finding. Earlier, this kind of only land archaeology was there. Marine archaeology was not there in India because, you have to incur huge amount. And even in Archaeological Survey of India, it was not there earlier. But the marine archaeology section of the NIO, that is National Oceanographic Department in Goa, they had started it there. And he was a member of that. He was the teacher of that one, the organization. So he conducted many of these marine archaeological explorations and excavation, in which he could locate the boundaries of this one fortification wall. So he says that it is 4 kilometers into 2 kilometers.
Okay.
So the length is 4 kilometers and the width is 2 kilometers.
That's a very small city, no?
It would be a small city, but
Okay.
at that time, having this bigger city, that is something. Yes. So he had used all kinds of scientific technology for that one. For example, sub-bottom profile was there. So side scan sonar was there. Also, all this kind of the technology he had used it. So that I mean he has been able to locate it. And then in Archaeological Survey of India, Dr. Tripathi, Alok Tripathi, he is now the Additional Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. He carried out the further mission of this one in Archaeological Survey of India. He has also come out with some of the sizable this one discoveries. So all this put together, but what you have to do is you have to give full support to Archaeological Survey of India. We all expected that once BJP comes into power, they would be supporting Archaeological Survey of India because they always speak, both RSS and BJP, they speak a lot about the glorious civilization of the country. But when you look at the performance during the last 10 years, it is miserable.
Really?
Yes, really miserable. कभी हम लोगों को I mean we never thought that it would be in such a poor condition, Archaeological Survey of India. And that is what has happened during the last 10 years. We are all sorry for that one. Even now,
How
things are
so,
not
sir?
good.
Like, what happened exactly?
Because in an Archaeological Survey of India, there are two important things. One is the structural conservation.
Okay.
That is,
Pillars and all.
That is, suppose, Brihadishwara temple.
Yeah.
Or some other, temples. So take up the conservation work of that one. And the second thing is, the peripheral work. That is the boundary wall, pathways, lawns, and other things. So during the BJP period, this thing, this was in a standstill for a long time. They, instead of that, they concentrated upon this one, certain toilets, certain other things, which was not required at all. I mean, there are toilets and other things. International toilets should be there at every place. That is fine. But in a place like Tughlakabad, where you don't require, where very few people go, if you are having a toilet of 90 lakhs, what will happen? With 90 lakhs, within 2 crores of rupees, I have reconstructed 80 temples in Bateshwar. 80 temples, 80 temples in Bateshwar. And that Bateshwar temple, the work, once the BJP came, it was completely in standstill. Completely in standstill. I had to speak to so many people, but even then also it did not happen. But now, after a very long persuasion, criticism, tremendous criticism, now it has started. So that is the thing. I mean, they did not do it. Whether it is RSS or BJP, they would say about Gauravshali, but it is the worst period of Archaeological Survey of India.
Why do you think the city of Dwarka, sir, submerged?
Might have been a kind of tectonic movement,
Okay.
or it could have been some other kind of natural calamity. And there are so many other cities also.
That are submerged?
No, not only here, even the Pumbuhar city that is in Tamil Nadu,
Okay.
that was also submerged. And in Kerala, there is a city known as Muziris that was submerged. And there are many other cities also. It might have been by a tsunami, it is possible, or might have been a tectonic movement, or something of that kind might have happened.
Fantastic. I want to understand Kashi, sir. You've worked on Kashi. Kashi in the yogic literature, and you've also mentioned it, it's the oldest city in the world without a doubt.
Yes.
Correct? And I think you've very beautifully, said in Mark Twain's words, Banaras is older than history, older than traditions, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. I have been told that apparently even Jesus visited Kashi, because they say that a man came who had all kinds of marks on their body. Now, I don't know how far this is true. I think it's one of the greatest in the civilization, but hasn't been done justice, because as you said that in the World Heritage Cities, right?
Yes,
Its name is not entered yet.
entered.
What are some of the hidden archaeological secrets, some of them that is not out in the public domain when it comes to Kashi?
See, archaeologically, many of these areas have been excavated by Banaras Hindu University also.
Okay.
And many other people, they have excavated it. But what I have found is, the spiritual aspect of, because I have gone and sat there early in the morning also, because, there was one structure which I had, this one carried out the conservation of this one. So you just go and sit there at the Manikarnika Ghat or the Sashwamedh Ghat. I was often sitting at the Sashwamedh Ghat. So you find yourself in a completely different world altogether. Thousands and thousands of people are pouring in every day. They are offering the worship. And the sannyasis are there, the general people are there, and they are all coming for some kind of salvation. What is that kind of mysterious salvation? It is inexplicable sometimes. So I have found, it is a completely different city, as rightly said by Mark Twain, older than civilizations, older than sometimes humanity. It is that kind of particular city. But if you want to understand it, you have to go into a different world. You have to have a different perspective. It all depends upon your own perspective to understand that kind of mystical city.
You've spoken very explicitly about Hampi. If it's preserved properly, it can match up to Rome or even
Yes,
become bigger than Rome.
yes.
Why do you say
See,
that?
you have got that kind of bazaars because in 1565 the whole city was destroyed by the Muslim forces. And then it was almost forgotten for many years. Now it is a World Heritage City. But if you look at the bazaars itself, it is almost 1-2 kilometers it is running. It is lying in ruins. If you can, if the government can spend 15 crores of rupees just for the rejuvenation of that bazaar. You have got the Bazaar is there. You have got the Virupacha Bazaar itself, it's there. If you can revive that bazaars, it would be more magnificent that of the many of the European, that is more than this one, Rome, more than Greece, and more than
Oh,
it is such a fantastic city. The thing is, you have to do it. But the government spending 15 crores of rupees is nothing for the government.
correct.
But do they have the willpower? Do the BJP has got the willpower to spend that much of money for Hampi? Again, I would accuse them because they would speak about the glorious civilizations and other things, but they would not undertake any kind of meaningful work like this one. If it is a new city, I mean, they would do anything. Jain, you tell them, they will do it. Kashi, you tell them, they will do it, but they will not spend money on this kind of
On
real
reviving
work.
older.
Real work. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay. Reviving older structures.
yes.
Okay. In Hampi, sir, you also talk about these Sare Gama Pa pillars.
Yeah.
There was a very evolved sense of music in that part of the region. What
Yes,
is this
yes.
exactly?
That is the whole of southern India. You can
Yeah.
see this kind of evolved sense of music. So that was an art itself. I mean, you find it in this one, not only in Karnataka, in southern India. In southern India, that is, I mean, Tamil Nadu, every house, they will be having this kind of music tradition. Music, dance, that was part and parcel of their this one life itself.
What
They-
happens in these Sare Gama Pa pillars? Like, can you hear the musical notes?
Yes, you can hear the musical notes and you can simply tap it, with there are certain ways in which you have to tap it.
The tap the
So,
pillars and the music comes out.
yes, the music comes
Wow.
out. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is something very extraordinary. So that is, I mean, some other temples also you have it in the same thing. And similarly, I mean, there are so many things, attached with this kind of music. I mean, music and dance. Because in every temple there will be a kind of dancing hall also,
Yeah.
mostly in southern India.
Correct.
So that is a peculiar character of southern Indian temples.
Okay. Lastly, sir, I want to talk to you about Nalanda and Takshashila, which were the two hubs of education.
Yes,
And
yes.
you've spoken and written extensively on the Nalanda being one of the oldest universities. I think
Yes, yes.
Takshashila is even older than Nalanda.
Takshashila is even older, but it was not such a very big university.
Okay.
Of course, it was a great center of learning.
Yeah.
And it is said even Jesus, you had spoken about
Yeah.
the Jesus coming to Benares.
Yeah.
And there are some people who said, that Jesus had come to Takshashila because, right from the age of 12 onwards up to 30, you don't hear anything about Jesus Christ. And then all of a sudden he appears. That is the history. So where was he? I mean, during these days. So some people say he had followed the path of Alexander the Great because there was a migration because Alexander had come to India. So he had followed the same kind of pathway and then he came to Takshashila University. He was a student of Takshashila and there is a book also about Jesus in Kashmir. So these things are there. It was a great center of learning, but not a big university as far as the volume is concerned. But our Nalanda University, it was really a great, majestic university. So far, we have been able to excavate only 12 this one monasteries, and each monastery was four-storied, and that we have been in the excavation also. We have got that one, the staircases we have been able to locate because I once I made a calculation out of that one. So it could accommodate near about to 4,000 students.
Okay.
But it's only 60% of Nalanda has been excavated. The rest of the 40% of Nalanda is still buried under the villages there, all around. I went all around it and still buried there. And it is for the government of India. And I had made a proposal also while I was the superintending archaeologist that the rest of the area also should be acquired by the government of India and excavation should be conducted. And part of the land which I had proposed that has been now acquired also, but that is not enough. You have to, there is adjacent villages are there. You have to make houses for those people whom you are replacing and you have to rehabilitate them first. Then only you should remove it. And then, excavate the entire place. So now it is one of the World Heritage Monument. It should have been a World Heritage Monument long back, being the first ancient university.
So, two questions. One is, why was Nalanda buried? What was the reason?
Because it was attacked in this one 1213.
Yeah.
It was attacked by Khilji, and
Okay.
he completely destroyed the entire university. There were two main important attacks on Nalanda. Earlier there was one attack by Huns were there, and then later on by Bakhtiyar Khilji, and then there was one more attack by the same Muslim forces. The entire university was completely destroyed. Then we don't hear about Nalanda.
Okay.
When Buchanan was the first person who had located this thing in 1811. But he did not know it was Nalanda. Even we did not know that there was a Nalanda University with us. Because we did not know that Buddha was an Indian. People thought,
Yeah.
he is this one African or he is an Egyptian. Because some of the sculptures which was excavated that had that curly hair. The curly hair is mostly either, it would be Africans or Egyptian. Then it was later on, no, he was an Indian, it was understood.
Okay. Is it a myth or a fact that the Nalanda library kept burning for 6 months?
No, that is an exaggeration again,
Okay.
But it had lakhs of books. It had 3 important libraries: Ratnaganja, Ratnodadi, Ratnasagara. The other thing is, of course, that is an exaggeration, but it might have burned for many days. At least we can say it might have burned for many days.
So a lot of it was burnt, and then some of it was recovered.
It was taken by a number of them were taken by this one priest, that is monks, and they had taken to Tibet also, Nepal also, and many of them have survived there. And Huang Sang himself, he had taken 769 books from here. He got it copied, and his manuscripts were taken to his own place. And from there, in China, it was translated. Yi Jing, he was another man who came after 30 years. He took 400 books from here. 400 books means the original books will be here itself. He would get it copied, and then he got it translated there. Similarly, thousands of other people have also done, but we don't have any records of that.
Okay. The Nalanda University has again restarted?
That is in a different, there are two, now there is a Nalanda very near to Nalanda University.
Okay.
And then there is a new modern Nalanda University also. That is also doing wonderful work.
Because I was looking at Nalanda University and I saw that a lot of focus was on languages and things like that. So do you foresee Nalanda being what it was back then?
That because the original Nalanda was an international university at that time.
Yeah.
The first modern university, you can say it was Paris University, and then you had Oxford University, you had Cambridge University. All of them came in 12th centuries.
Correct.
But 700 years, this one was a university in 700 AD. That is almost, 500, 600, 700 years before that one. That is, going to that period and achieving that kind of reputation is a difficult task.
Yeah.
But let us hope.
And it was bigger than Oxford and Cambridge and all of these universities.
And Oxford and the Cambridge, mostly they had European students.
Okay.
Mostly it was either from England or from Paris University, they had from French students or from the nearby Spain area. That is Western Europe, not even Eastern Europe. It was only from the Western Europe. But this was not like that one. You have students from China, you have got from Korea, you have got Indonesia, Malaysia, then Afghanistan, Central Asia, and then Japan also, that is Far East Asian countries. So having this one in such a remote age, that itself is something very great.
Absolutely. So this has been such an enlightening conversation, and we read about you and you told me this yourself. You're 72 years old and you don't look a day above 40?
Thank you so much.
I think, divinity becomes you because, you've involved yourself so selflessly in your job and, keeping your religious identification aside, that I really think that you have the blessing of the Almighty. So I'm so grateful for this conversation, and I really wish to have you sometime in the future as well. But it's been fantastic having this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
बहुत अच्छा, thank you so much. बहुत अच्छा लगा. We had a wonderful conversation, and let us continue it at some other period also whenever we both of us are free.
Absolutely. Pranam.
Namaskar. Pranam.
In case you'd like to be a part of our online and in-person yoga, diet and spiritual programs, you can join our WhatsApp group below where we post all our upcoming programs and give free tips on health, diet and lifestyle.